Yeah, so I'm 39, so technically I've learned that I'm a geriatric millennial.
Oh my God.
Apparently that's the thing.
I don't know how to jump back in.
Can we say shit?
Yeah,
I don't
say
know.
Hello, family and friends. My name is Nigel, and I'm here representing Generation Peace as we have another incredible conversation surrounding matters that are extremely important. Can we just get the cat out the bag? We're here specifically because we want to honor Pride Month. We are engaging in issues that don't affect some of us, and we're going to be talking about communities that we don't necessarily come from, because here at Preemptive Love, specifically with Generation Peace, we believe in radically humanizing everyone. We believe in bringing people to the table, no matter what the chair might look like, no matter what the chair is made out of or what it's been through or seen. We want people to bring their full selves to the table. So I think that that's just a great place to start. Ryan, would you just kind of introduce yourself, tell the people at home where you're from, what you do, and maybe if you got a fun fact, you could throw one of those in too.
All right, like you said, I'm Ryann Bradford. I'm originally from Fort Worth, Texas.
Worth,
I've been in Atlanta since 2010, so I'm officially a Georgia Peach now. It's been over 10 years. I am the proud owner of Bradford Botanical and Company. I consider myself to be a plant dealer, so I specialize in plant installations, plant care workshops, and providing plants to retail establishments, restaurants, the whole nine. Fun fact about me, I used to play in a band called Thunder Snatch.
What?
Here in Atlanta. I used to play bass, yeah.
That's what's up. I'm gonna have to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I got some pretty fun stories.
Thunder Snatch.
Yeah, regarding playing in a band for a couple of years, yeah.
I love that. Well, BT, you wanna go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience?
My name is BT Harman. I am 39 years old. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. Been here for about a decade, though I grew up in Alabama, North Alabama. And for work, I'm a creative strategist, so I do a lot of consulting work with small businesses and social media, copy, design, those kinds of things. And I'm also a podcaster. I've got 2 podcasts that I operate, and then have a couple other small little side projects that I'm always dabbling in. Interesting fact, I'm an exceptional speller.
Okay.
I can spell. It's like I will not challenge anybody anything, but when it comes to spelling, I'm very confident. So,
Encyclopedia right now.
What's that?
Encyclopedia.
ENCYCLOPEDIA, right?
All right.
I mean, that was on the spot, so yeah.
I just now had a traumatic memory pop back into my mind about the 5th grade when I misspelled restaurant.
In a spelling.
Let's just say my coming out story wasn't really a coming out story. My parents were not okay with homosexuality at all. I grew up in a Southern Baptist home, and they just did not understand it. So up until I left for college, it was something that I felt and I knew, but I did not share because I didn't want to hear the backlash. I've had friends who have been kicked out of their homes, so I didn't even want to deal with that. And so I didn't officially come out to my parents until later in college. But yeah, the whole coming out story, I think in terms of me opening up to my family, majority of my family didn't come until the day I walked down that aisle.
Oh, wow.
And my mom actually didn't, decide she didn't want to come to the ceremony, but my dad walked me down the aisle as a proud man, and his love is just a mirror image of God's love, because he was just like, I'm with you all the way. I'm here until the wheels fall off. And so
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How did you process your mom not coming, or how did you handle that? Or
I was hurt. I was really frustrated and sad, because I was just like, out of all the times that I've needed you, this is the one time that I needed you the most. And I knew that the reason she didn't come was because of what others may think. I know my mom loves me. And now it's totally different story, especially when we brought her grandbaby into this world. That whole idea of being gay just kind of went out the window. So it's been a learning process for her, and you know, I never really wanted to like fault her for her not being there, but I was definitely hurt, you know, and it took me some time to kind of get over that. But at the end of the day, I'm stepping into a marriage. I need to be there as a partner, you know, so I just had to focus on my life and moving forward. And you know, whether or not my family members decide to come around or not, that's up to them. You know, I just kind of have to let that go, and then people come, you know, around as they see. And like I said, it's been a journey within itself to just kind of really fully accept that. And even still, like, I feel some type of way about that right now. Obviously, it's still a little traumatic, just kind of sharing that, because like I say, it's a big step to make in terms of marriage, and just being comfortable with telling someone who you are and then it not being received. So yeah.
And that's large in part what the hope for today was too, is that this would feel a bit therapeutic for each of us. You know, the sharing of stories, the understanding that everybody's journey is not, you know, linear. It's, you know, it's not one way. Sometimes it just curves and, you know, goes all over the place, but here we are at today. And so the fact that you are even able to talk about that shows how much you've grown, and shows, you know, just, you know, how strong you are as a human. And so I'm proud of you.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in North Alabama, a little town called Florence, which I still love and adore to this day. Have a lot of friends and family still there, but Florence was kind of your typical Southern town insofar as, you know, I was born in 1981, so I was a kid of the 90s, early 2000s, and so, you know, homosexuality was definitely not accepted. It was not okay. High level of taboo surrounding that topic. And so yeah, I did what most kids do in that situation, went into the closet, slammed the door, locked it, and threw away the key, you know. It was a little different for me, because my dad was actually a Southern Baptist pastor, so grew up like you, Southern Baptist. My dad was a pastor of a large church. So there's a little bit of that like spotlight aspect of kind of always feeling like I'm being watched and there's this expectation. And so, you know, my main coping mechanism really growing up from that was just achievement, right? So my way of coping was just, let me achieve the hell out of my life as much as I can to try to create really this distraction, to keep people off the scent of the fact that I am secretly gay, right? So for me, it was like, you know, probably like high school, I kind of had this sense of like, I think I might be gay, but also not accepting it, because I'm like, no, gay is not, that's not me. Gay is this thing that's like way out there, and it's this, it's New York City, you know, and it's like pride parades, and I'm like, I'm this kid in Alabama, and I'm a Christian, and my dad's a preacher. I'm like, I'm not gay. But I was not attracted to women, and you know, the older I got, the more I was attracted to guys. So yeah, really, I graduated from a small Christian high school, went to a local college, joined a fraternity. Again, achievement, and that was kind of when everything got really real. Was you know, the constant pressure of like feeling like I had to date a girl and have a girlfriend, and then obviously the older you get, there's more questions of, hey man, why don't you date? Why don't you have a girl? You know, those kind of things. Yeah, you've been there. And so, which is one of the worst parts of being closeted, is kind of constantly, you do have to create sort of this whole web of lies to kind of keep people off the scent. So that's one of the damnable things about the closet, is it forces you to be a liar, which is not, I don't think, good for your soul and not healthy, but you have to do it to survive, and I understand that. And so was obviously very involved with my faith as well. I was involved in college ministry. And so at some point in my like early 20s, I was like, all right, my path is going to be singleness and celibacy. That's all that I can do. It's the best I can do to make God happy and to kind of, you know, go about this life and get into heaven. And so I just dove right into that. 2005, I graduated college, jumped on board with a fundraising startup that worked in schools, and just became a total workaholic. And so no dating, none of that. It was just work. And if anyone asked, why aren't you dating anybody? It was like, all shucks, I'm just so busy at work, I don't have time, you know? Yeah. And so that kind of worked for a while, because I loved my work, I loved my job, but over time, the loneliness just began to increase, and a lot of my friends began to get married and move on and then have kids, and I just felt stuck and sad, and so really began to deal with a lot of mental health issues over time, which I've always said, like, you know, as a white Protestant male, like the whole system is designed for me to succeed. I've often said that. And I was doing everything right and was making money and had this amazing friend group. And at the same time, my inner life was collapsing into this puddle of anxiety and sadness to the point where I, took 2 trips to the hospital where had the symptoms of, one time I thought I was having a stroke, like numbness in my arms. Another time I thought I was having a heart attack and full on EKG, and the doctor's like, you're fine. Like, are you experiencing stress? And I was, I didn't say it, but I'm like, yeah, I have been for the last 30 years, and so kind of came to a breaking point, and it really was around 30 or 31. I can't remember exactly when. It was when I said, all right, I'm gonna date. Like, I'm gonna open myself up to the possibility of love. And maybe my theology on this has not been right, because my experience with God had always been the closer I get to God, the more full of life I have, more life I feel, the more joy I feel. But in this one particular issue, the more I did the thing I thought He wanted me to do, the deeper into darkness it drove me, the deeper into sadness and loneliness and mental health issues it drove me. And so that's when I said, maybe my view of God's view on this is wrong, is off. And so I downloaded Tinder and, began dating for the first time in my, early 30s or late, whatever it was. And everything changed for me after that point. And eventually met my now husband. And yeah, that was the thing that was missing. Was I'm a big believer. Humans are designed to love and to be loved. And when you just bury that thing and you try to, pummel and punch that desire into the dirt in order to kill it, you can't kill it. It doesn't go away. And so really grateful now for where I am, and so thankful for the path that I've been on and the journey, Ryan, as you said. It's been terrible and awful and painful at times, but it's also been really beautiful. So. Yeah.
Literally everything that you described, like, you are speaking part of my truth. At some point I dealt with really bad anxiety in college, to where I was having panic attacks on a regular basis. And it was just because I was living a double life. Like going back home, visiting my parents, and they're asking the same questions, like, when are you gonna find a boyfriend? And and it's always about the boyfriend, like, where's the boyfriend? You never bring anybody
Someone
else's
else's expectation.
Exactly, and like you also said, overachievements and diving into work, and for me it was sports, college sports, school, just getting good grades, just focusing on everything else to take the attention off of what I'm feeling inside. And I'm like, okay, I need to be this way when I'm around around my family, and then I can be myself when I'm around my friends, and it's just kind of like, okay, but I can't expose my true self to my family. What are they going to think of me? So you deal with a lot of mental stress, and it leads to physical stress. And it kind of helped me at one point when I reached my breaking point in college. I told my coach, I was like, hey, I need to go see a counselor. I need to go speak to someone. And luckily I had coaching staff that were kind of like counselors for me, mentors, and they were like, okay, we'll find you someone through the university system. And the first counselor that they sent me to, I just unloaded on her.
I was just bottled up.
And this lady, she was just like, she was definitely very faith-driven, Christian counselor. And she was just like, I don't think I'm the counselor for you. And she said, I'm gonna refer you to someone else. Because she said, I don't think that I can relate to your story of being gay. And she referred me to another counselor on campus, and I walked into her office, and she has like a big rainbow flag, and I'm like, okay, I'm where I'm supposed to be. Thank you for letting me know that you're not the counselor for me and sending me to the right person. And actually speaking to someone and seeing them on a regular basis definitely helped. And I think that's a lot of things. A lot of people deal with that stress, and they don't have anyone to talk to, and that's exactly what I needed. And up until this day, I know that I need a counselor. I need someone to kind of go to and just unload. And now that I have my wife as well, but it's important for people to know that you don't have to deal with these issues alone. Yeah. There's always someone there to help counsel you through the process.
I kind of want to transition a little bit. After you all shared what you shared just now, I kind of want to ask two things. Can we talk allyship for a second? Because you don't need to do life alone. You're not created to do life alone. You have issues that you're experiencing and you want a safe place to be able to come and process and share those things. Can you maybe speak to one side of our audience and just talk to a little bit, maybe some advice that you would have with someone who wants to ally, and maybe just kind of give them some practical advice or some wisdom on how you can create a safe space for someone who is gay?
I think the main thing is just getting to know people and being open to receiving a person for who they are and letting them open up. I think that's finding common ground right there. And in terms of being an ally, I think, just finding the common ground and just allowing someone to just open up as themselves and asking, how can I support you? Yeah. I think that's the biggest question, is how can I support you? In what ways can I support you? Because we all need support in many ways. I think that's the easiest.
I love it.
Yeah, I would say I'm a big advocate for asking people to share their stories. And this is very contextual, it differs per person. Some people don't want to share their stories. Some people are not at a place where they're yet ready to share their story. But my experience is most LGBTQ people are. I enjoy, when somebody asks, particularly a straight friend, because this is a story that we've, for the most part, not been able to share. We've been shamed for it. It's been sort of buried. And so when I see an ally, a straight friend, eagerly wanting to access my story and hear the hard parts and the good parts and the pretty parts and the ugly parts, it's very meaningful to me. And it's very cathartic for me, particularly early on. I mean, the first, I started coming out in early around 2010, 2011, and I only did one-on-one coming out conversations for the first portion of that. And every single one of them, I was like a weepy mess, right? Because I was unearthing and excavating all of this sadness that had been cooped up in my spirit, And so those were all really healing conversations. And so even now, when someone takes the time to listen to that, it means a whole lot, and it's really great. So I would say, number one, ask people their stories if they're comfortable. Yeah. Number two, my friend Daryl Ford, who's an African-American pastor here in Atlanta, we had lunch a couple years back, and he said something that I will never forget. He said, BT, the primary way in which we love our neighbor is in how we vote, right? And when we think about loving our neighbor, oftentimes we think of sharing a meal together, encouraging someone where they're down, which are all good things. But another way that we do that is in voting for things that make the world more equitable, more peaceful for marginalized groups. And I don't like politics. I hate getting political. But at the same time, I think that's it's a great sort of rubric to run your voting through. Is how does my vote show love for my neighbors in me?
Man, relationship building. Not being afraid to jump in with someone and accept them for who they are, where they are, and just open your heart and mind to a new experience and a story for the sake of seeing someone else's humanity unravel right in front of you, which is something that I think we all desire. We want to be accepted, we want to be honored, we want our dignity to be instilled in other people without there being some kind of prerequisite to their love or their care, because we all deserve that. So on the sake of allyship, thank you both just for sharing those things. I think those are very practical ways to help someone understand what allyship may look like. I would love to just kind of hear a story, if you've got a story on hand, about a time where you saw someone changed just because of the impact that you had by sharing your story with them and spending time in proximity to them.
I mean, I think the closest situation to me was probably my mom, like I mentioned before. She was not on the whole gay bandwagon with me when she found out that I was gonna marry a woman. And I don't think she was really open to it until we had our first child. And she's like, wow, I'm a grandmother. Like, I need to be there. I need to be involved. Yeah. And she saw that she was missing out on so much. And I think that was the missing puzzle piece to her asking the questions and now finally opening up to my world, not just to be there as a grandmother, but to just open it up as into my world and understanding who I am and the things that I love and knowing me as an adult and not the child that she raised. So
starkly different extremes.
Yeah.
Ryann,
and sometimes
home,
now
Ryann
she'll
free out by herself, you know what I'm saying?
Right, and just me educating her, but like I said, the most important thing was her asking questions, and I'm always here as an open book. And I told my mom, I'm like, hey, if you want to learn more about me, and besides what the Bible has told you or what you were raised to know is like sinful or whatever, like, I am here. I am an open book, Mom. Like, let me educate you and let you know how I feel, and the person that I love, and this is who I am. So it's just that was a beautiful journey to this day, and her understanding who I am.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And it's ever evolving, every single day.
Sure.
Every single day, because she'll call me, and sometimes she'll kind of go back to that world of like, oh, this is my baby, but no, this is the grown woman that has evolved in so many ways, and you have to kind of relearn, and if you want to be a part of this world with me, you have to accept me for who I am and embrace my journey, and I'll gladly hold your hand during your journey as you learn more about mine.
So for me, in 2007, I was mid-20s, super closeted, single, not dating. But I had this sense of like, I knew I was on some kind of longer journey of this being closeted, and I had this sense of write everything down. Like everything because everything was internal, right? I was like stuck in my head all day long, thinking about this, out to no one. But I had this sense, maybe it was the voice of God, I don't know. It was something saying just like write everything down, write your thoughts, your experiences, your emotions, things you're hearing and seeing. And so for the next 10 years, I kept a journal that was in the notes app on my phone, but I just wrote down everything that I heard and experienced and felt, the ups and the downs, and lots of lows and lots of sad things. And 2016, I had come out to close friends and family, but I had not kind of come out to the world, so to speak. And so I decided to begin to basically publish my story in a blog called Blue Babies Pink. And I really was just pulling from those notes that I had taken, a decade, 10, 7, 5 years earlier. And so I kind of came out on Facebook, as one does, and some people who knew me were not surprised, some people were shocked, people I grew up with. But I basically said, hey, like, I am gay, that's my reality. If you want to know the backstory of kind of what this process and journey has been like, I'm going to write one blog post per day about it for the next 44 days. That was what I did. So I ended up writing this sort of epic memoir type saga about kind of what this process had been like. And a lot of people began to read along. And my goal was to create that empathetic connection, to say, I'm not going to lecture you, we're not going to argue about politics and theology, that's not what this is about. Sharing, this is just my story. You can do with it whatever you want. You can hate me, you can love me, great, but I'm just going to tell you as true and as honest as I can be. And so put that story out. About 6 months later, I recorded the whole thing as a podcast, and found a lot of different listeners and viewers from that. And so that would be the answer to the question, would be the number of people who've reached out to me. A lot of closeted gay Southern Baptist kids, in the same spot that I was in, dealing with a lot of darkness and sadness, who did find a little bit of hope in what I wrote. And I've been an advocate to say we need more people sharing their stories. I say stories are like it's like types of medicine, or like vaccines almost. It's like what works for one ailment doesn't work for another one. So whereas a lot of people were encouraged by my story, tons were not. It didn't mean anything to them. They didn't connect at any point. And so we need more gay men and lesbians and bisexual people and trans people sharing their stories, because that's going to be the connecting 100%. Point that pulls someone in to create that connection, to create that empathy, and to change the way people view things. I'm just a big believer, we cannot change people. We cannot change people. I cannot crawl inside your brain and tinker with the gears and make you think differently about an issue. And the more I try to do that, the more sad and anxious I get. But what I can do is I can invite you into this story, and maybe something will happen. Maybe some sparks will fly, maybe a light bulb will go off, and something in you might change because of it. But that's not because I made you change or shouted you into changing.
All you did was share.
So,
That's good. Any advice or wisdom that you would share with the person who maybe is, living privately, but they want to make some kind of expression or make some kind of statement, or just live in some kind of liberation, surrounding their sexuality?
Well, one, if you're dealing with something and you're holding it all in, eventually you're going to deal with the stress, and it's going to morph into so many different things. So it is important to reach out, seek help. There's so many different resources nowadays. Counseling is one thing. Just know that you don't have to deal with this alone. You know, there's so many different groups, and via Facebook, social media, there's so many different outlets for people these days that, you know, I didn't have when I was younger. And I think it's just finding that connection and finding the right person or group or resource that can help you just talk about things, and that can spiral into something else, and finding your person or your group or wherever it may be.
Back when I was going through my process of coming out, I had dinner this one night with my friend Ann, and I was telling her some of my story and kind of venting, and this was when I was coming out to close friends, and I was just describing the process of growing up, you know, the church and closeted, just all of my entire life had been about managing the secret. And, you know, at one point she kind of cut me off and just said, you know, BT, like, I'm so sorry. Like, you should not have had to go through that. You should not have had to go through that. And that was one of the most meaningful moments for me. It was such a simple statement, but for the first time in my life, someone just acknowledged that I should not have had to manage all of this sadness and shame by myself, you know? And so that's what I would say to anybody watching this who's closeted is, I'm really sorry, you know, that you're having to hide this and that you're dealing with a lot of the shame and issues that a lot of us have. At the same time, you've got to hold on, and you've got to know there's so much joy on the other side of if and when you're able to come out. And I mean, you would probably agree, Ryan, like everyone's coming out timeline is different. You know, some people, you're ready to come out tomorrow, and for some people it's going to be 10 more years of living this life. But listen to people who've been there, you know, like we were on the other side now, and we are so blessed, both of us, with partners, children in your case. And I could not have imagined in my wildest dreams, I mean, my husband say this sometimes, like, you know, back when things were so dark, we could never have imagined the lives that we have built with each other, and the joy and the absolute happiness that can come from loving and being loved. And so if that's you, man, just hang on as hard as you can. Surround yourself with people who absolutely love and affirm you no matter what, and be willing to lose some people. Be willing to lose some friendships, and you might even lose some family members. And one thing I love about being gay is we get to develop really damn thick skin. And all the can we say shit?
Yeah,
I don't know. All of the
ain't no beefing it out on here. You know what I'm saying? We real.
Oh, BT, you got me tearing up
all of
over
the
here
shit
right now.
that we've been through, like it can come close to crushing us, and so many people, you know, deal with that. But if you just surround yourself with good people, surround yourself with mental health stuff, like that shit that will crush you will also forge you into one of the toughest damn people in the world. And so I used to hate being gay, and I hated the fact that I was different, and now I am so grateful for it, because I have used it. I've used it as a mechanism to forge character in myself and to become a stronger person and to develop thick skin. Or I'm no longer, you know, I don't feel like a victim. I feel like a very victorious and powerful person.